right, we get it rolling on the Krueg Show, bright and early, 8:07 on the West Coast, 11:07 a.m. on the East Coast. A true morning extravaganza on this Saturday. The coach will be in the house. We're going to talk a little Niner football in advance of Week 1. Niners and Steelers at Heinz Field. I'm calling it Heinz Field. I know it's called something else these days, but it's the Niners and the Steelers Week 1. The 49ers did make a move this morning that we should tell you about. Of course, we need to tell you, first of all, who our sponsors are. We're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle. Get the brisket chili. Say hi to Damon. Say hi to Mary. Tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. And we're also, of course, brought to you in the top corner here by New York Style Sausage Company. They've been with us since the beginning. The only kind of Italian sausage that I will eat is a New York Style Italian sausage. All the different kinds, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. They make their own raviolis. They have 3 restaurants here in the Bay Area. Check them out. New York Style Sausage Company, an amazing product. Also brought to you by Marin Auto Glass. You shatter a windshield, you crack a windshield, you need someone to come out to your house and replace it, or wherever your car is at, they will do it. MarinAutoglass.com on the web, 415-883-3030. My man Saeed owns a great company. They will come out, pop out the old windshield, glaze in a new one, sweep away the glass, one-stop shop. It doesn't get more convenient than MarinAutoglass.com, 415-883-3030. And, of course, we're also brought to you by our brand new sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. And if you type in the code Krueg, the link is in the description. They will match your first deposit up to $100, and we're going to be using Underdog Fantasy throughout the football season. My 2 fantasy plays of the week are take Brandon Ayuk over 3.5 receptions and take Nico Collins of the Houston Texans over 3 receptions. I like both those props. Go with higher on receptions for Nico Collins and the great Brandon Ayuk. All right, let's hit the chat and see what the chat is saying as we wait for the coach to log on and join us. Raphael 562 Niners says link and subscribe, everybody. I think he means like, I said like. He said like. I said link. Like and subscribe, everybody. That's right. If you hit the like, that just helps more people find the algorithm, more people find the shows. It just grows the show overall. So yes, if you could just hit like, that would help the show, and hit subscribe and hit that notification bell. And every time you do, when we go live, you'll get a little notification that we're going live, and you won't miss one bit of the action. Also, Raphael says, good morning, Larry, Coach, and everyone. And on that note, we welcome in the coach. Wait. Coach, I can put you back in there for a second. Coach is working on getting a speaker going. So he's not hearing us on the rejoin. Let's see a couple more on the chat, because we've got lots here on the chat before we go back to the coach here. What do we think? A lot of people are wondering about what the Niners are going to do with the extra cap room from redoing Trent Williams, George Kittle, and Nick Bosa. Jed York paid out $79 million in bonus money to give the Niners cap flexibility this year. And sure enough, if you look at the under the cap, you'll see that the 49ers have $24 million now under the cap, second most to the Cleveland Browns, who I believe have 38, something like that. So there you go. On that, what do you think they will do with their cap room? Daniel Garcia says, got a feeling defensive end or defensive tackle possibly. Matthew Bowman says, or do you think it's multiple players? Clarsard 49 says, I have a feeling they want another proven edge rusher, which leads us to the headline of the morning. According to reports, the NFL transaction wire, the Niners released today Austin Bryant. So you knew they had to make a corresponding move to put Nick Bosa on the roster, and they decided to cut Austin Bryant. I'm surprised by this. I really thought they would have cut an offensive lineman because they have 9 offensive linemen, the 5 starters and 4 backups. I thought Matt Pryor, Jalen Moore, Nick Sakel, one of those 3 guys I thought would be in line to be cut, but no. So the Niners reportedly have informed Bryant that they plan to re-sign him. Okay, so then they eventually released him originally at the cutdown and signed Kerry Hyder and kept Robert Beal Jr. and Danny Gray on the initial roster. Then they put Beal and Gray on the short-term IR, re-signed Bryant and Hyder, and then they put Beal and Gray on the injured reserve. Now, had they placed them on the injured reserve before August 30th, that would have ended their season. But they have hope that Beal and Gray can help them this year. So, Niners initially signed Austin Bryant to a 1-year deal, but he is now released. So he can seek employment anywhere he so chooses. All right, now we'll bring back the coach. Coach, how you doing this morning? Can you hear us?
What's up, Larry? How you doing?
Good, man. You got a new setup going?
Yeah, trying to get everything together, man. How you feel? You like?
Yeah, I do actually. You look a little clearer. You look a little. You got multiple screens going now.
Yeah, let's go to work, man. We're good to go, man. We're
Okay.
up and running. You know what I'm saying? So we're ready to go, man. How you
Well,
been?
we should also tease that you're starting a new post game project. Is that
Yeah,
going to start tomorrow, or is that going to start in a week? When are you? I know you and the great Vish
yeah.
Kumaran are talking about doing post game.
Right. So me and Vish are gonna start doing post game together every week, right after the game. All of the things that we want to get out and talk about some of the things that we get together during pregame, some of the stuff we talk about throughout the week. And me and Vish are gonna be doing it all week. We're gonna be going against each other. There's gonna be a lot of predictions, a lot of eating crow, a lot of victory laps, and all good fun, really. So we're gonna have the post game show after every week, me and Vish, and I'm gonna do a scout report pregame show Sunday morning, 7 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Eastern time, and we're just gonna mix it up, man. I'm glad to be had, man. I'm welcome.
Is the channel? Can we tell people about where they can find it and what's it
Yeah,
called and
bang
that kind of
bang.
thing? Oh, so
Go on to bang
what you
bang.
sent me, bang bang, just straight bang bang.
Yeah,
Just that's it. It's not bang
yeah,
bang 49.
yeah. It's just bang bang
Bang
49.
bang.
So
Oh, bang bang
right now, I'll
49.
go ahead. I'll go ahead and send you over the link to the channel.
Nice, nice. Well, we're off and running. Niners Steelers tomorrow at Heinz Field, and
Hmm.
why don't we start right there? The Bosa signing gets done to Austin
Hmm.
Bryant. You just heard is the guy who gets released to create a roster spot for Bosa.
Right.
Give me your thoughts on the way the Bosa deal came down, and obviously it's a record-setting deal. How do you feel about it?
I feel good. We had to pay him. He had us. I've been saying this the whole time. I would be worried until day one, week one, and he's not on the field. So I'm happy that Nick is here. I'm happy that we got the deal done. And you know what? The season is ready to go. Perfect is not on the menu, Larry. It's just not. Right? We can sit here and go back and forth about all of the things that we wish we would have did and the extra money and should it really have gone all the way to 34 million and did they meet in the middle? But who cares, man? It's time to
Yeah.
play. You got to run with what you brung. So it's right. It's time to go. I'm ready.
How many snaps? What do you feel comfortable with? What would be if you were Shanahan, if you were Kasarik, if you were Steve Wilkes? Those are the guys in charge. How many
Hmm.
snaps you running Nick out there in week one?
Larry, if you buy a brand new supercar, are you going to take it to Walmart? Or are you going to throw that shit on the track? It's time
Well,
to go.
here's the thing. I
No,
mean, only thing
play
I
him.
would say,
Play him.
I saw him working out the other day, and he's
Hmm.
definitely has been in the weight room. I mean, you can see it.
All right.
He's thick. He's heavily muscled. I don't want to say he's too heavily muscled, but he just
Mhm.
looks like a guy. He looks like a lot of guys do who do a lot of lifting in the offseason at the beginning of camp. He looks very powerful, but he also looks kind of extra yoked up. And what I would do is I would play him on third downs in the first half, and then in the second half I'm playing like just to win. First half I'll play him on obvious passing downs to just try to make sure he gets his wind. Let's say, going into the locker room. Second half, I'm going to play him as much as I need to play him to win the game. That's kind of how I would do it. I want to ease him in a little bit. I don't know if I want him to go down after down after down, all these run downs, getting worn down. Third downs in the first half, full go in the second half. What do you think? Do you like that plan?
We got 2 practices out of him. I mean, obviously the first day. You got me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, we got two practices out of him. So we obviously ran him through the first preliminary stuff with all of his strength and conditioning just to see if he's where he needs to be, which is preliminary, honestly, dealing with the guy with Nick's track record, right? And he's going to have 2 practices. I mean, what are we waiting for? I understand, soft tissue injuries and, working out in Florida is not football. Camp isn't even football, right? So there's levels to that. I understand that, Larry, but he got paid $34 million a year, man. And we got to be where our feet are. This game matters, all right? This is a game on the road, and we got to fight for that number 1 seed. The boys know it. They've said it explicitly. They've been really cavalier about it, that we need that number 1 seed. So I think warming him up will be emblematic of issues or lessons that we need to learn that we didn't learn last year. I mean, what did we do last year? What were we doing? Warming up Brock Purdy, and then the Eagles, they were ready to play week 1. They were ready to play snap 1. You know what I'm saying? So we can't wait. We don't have any games to give away. We're not sitting on high looking down at the rest of the field. We're in Gen Pop. This is week 1. Nobody is better than the process, especially during week 1. And on top of it, is the last thing we need to be doing is optics. Let's be real. We're a famous team. People love to see us play. The last thing we want is people tuning in all over the league, hopping from game to game, and when the Niners are playing, we're down or struggling with Nick Bosa on the sideline with a pearly white jersey on. That does not look good. He needs to play.
I hear you.
I
hear you.
He needs to get on the field, and he's a pro. What are we waiting for? I mean, they already didn't worry about him going to camp. What are we worried about him getting ready for a game for? I think he's done.
Better than anybody as a coach that you can mock up all kinds of D-line drills. You can do all kinds of things, but there's a reason that the Steelers hit the ground running in week 1, and there's a reason why the 49ers probably don't. And I think it's the main reason is that the Niners, come out and they're a little bit more cautious with how they introduce the intensity of football to their roster. Where the Steelers come out and just go, Mike Tomlin's like, hey man, if you want to be a boxer, you got to spar, and they go full bore in the preseason, and then they hit the ground running week 1. I just wonder if, since Bosa's been so much, he's basically been at home, hasn't gone at all, if the fastest way to get him hurt seriously is to have him go 1,000,000 miles an hour in week 1 with no limitations. If they feel, they got to talk it through, but you know the way it works. It's funny. Chris Forster said this to us. He's like, hey, you know what? No matter what kind of conditioning we do, no matter how hard we run them in camp, when the offensive linemen come off the field after that first drive, he said they are sucking wind because of the intensity of regular season week 1.
And just the adrenaline.
The adrenaline. And they're just sucking wind. So, maybe if there's a way to ease him in, I'd like to see it. I just don't want to see him suffer a quad, suffer a hammy, miss 5 weeks, and then suddenly it's like, oh, dude, this is like the worst of all worlds. You got him signed, and now he's sitting on the sidelines. By the way, we've buried the lead here, Coach, because Matthew Bowman has put this out. I did not see this at Niners Nation, but it was on 49er Web Zone. So the story of the morning here is that the 49ers have, I mentioned it was that they cut Austin Bryant. They also have restructured Eric Armstead this morning, so they have cleared up another $11.78 million in cap space, according to ESPN and Field Yates, who's reporting this. So now the 49ers have $41.5 million in cap space to begin the regular season, by far the most in the NFL. Even after signing Bosa to this massive 5-year extension, they have $41.5 million. They restructured. They created $23 million in cap space by restructuring George Kittle and Trent Williams, and now Eric Armstead. And wow. So the speculation is, are the Niners posturing for another potential move, either via the trade market or free agency? Or are they looking to just carry all this money over next year when they've got several of their key players that need to be, paid next year? The Niners have now restructured Armstead, Kittle, Williams, Warner, McCaffrey, and Mooney Ward all in this offseason. I don't know if they're done restructuring. It sounds like, I don't know who's left. They can restructure me if they'd like. Coach, you don't mind being restructured.
I'll take a restructure. I'll take a little pay raise. I'll take a bump.
We'll all take a little restructure. They're restructuring Jake Moody. No, but what do you think? A lot of people in the chat are saying Brian Burns. To me, Coach, when I look at the Niners, I definitely want your thoughts on this. I just think that they look like a team that could definitely, you could use an offensive tackle, but there's no offensive tackle to be gotten out there. If Mooney's dinged up, maybe you could use another corner, but heck, you just cut Deshaun Jameson. To me, if there's one area that really stands out, it's defensive line. They have Armstead and Hargrave and Bosa and Drake, but now their backups are Cleveland Farrell, Kerry Hyder, and that's it at defensive end.
Right.
So, they could use another really, really good defensive end. Chandler Jones, Brian Burns, trade for Chase Young, Montez Sweat.
Well, Montez Sweat is your Brian Burns in this whole situation.
Yeah. Do you sign a Jason Pierre-Paul? Do you sign a Melvin Ingram? They need more defensive end depth and better defensive end depth, I think. Burns is not a depth piece. He'd start, but maybe they're looking at Drake saying, you know what? Drake is nice, and he's definitely going to be good in a rotation, but he can't be the starter opposite Bosa. What do you think?
Well, it definitely shows. You can look at it. You can have two schools of thought on this, right? It could either be they're fortifying their base so they can go out and make some real splashes in free agency now, or make sure that they can be pliable or malleable next year when they have all of those picks, and see if they can make moves during free agency next year. Or you could look at it as they're circling the wagons because they know they have to keep more guys coming down the road, a la Brandon Ayuk, right? So one thing that you have to realize is that Brian Burns, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, insert here, whatever defensive end, sexy defensive end that you like, we're still going to have to pay that man, right? The reason why Brian Burns is at large right now, so to speak, is because he wants a bag, right? And we just went through, we're just coming off the heels of what Nick gave us. And yeah, we could have a high-flying defense that could really, make us the tip of the spear. But the money really makes a difference on how a team is built. And if we start spending that kind of money on our defense, then anything less than perfection is going to be not enough. It's not going to be
Coach, we've been talking about it. It's time. It is time for the Niners to win the Super Bowl. This, we can talk about being competitive.
But you don't cook the books to do it, though.
No, I know, but let me ask you this: would you? I thought I brought this up many times in the last couple months. Would you like to be the Rams? They spent tons. They got in cap hell. They got their ring, and now they're kind of sitting out a couple dances, waiting to kind
They're
of
still
for the
mid.
reset.
Come on, they're still mid.
And they're really thin. They're really thin.
Right.
I'm just kind of wondering, do you think the
Well,
49ers feel like they need to? I mean, you saw Kansas City. They're
what
not
does
going to
that
have
look
Chris
like though?
Jones,
Okay. Yeah, they also didn't have Travis
Kelsey.
Kelsey and a ton of drops too.
Right.
By
So, I
the way.
mean, you saw them. They lost at home. Philly's got new coordinators, new linebackers,
But
new
they didn't lose at home
safeties.
because of defense. I mean, I felt like they did a good job against Detroit. Larry, what do you think? I thought they did good against Detroit
Yeah,
defensively.
I'll say this. Watching that game, and I was screaming for this guy the entire offseason. If I was going to let Jimmy Ward go, and the Niners did, I was going to replace him with Chauncey Gardner Johnson. And
Yeah.
instead, he went to Detroit. And look how freaking great Chauncey Gardner Johnson is.
He does look good. He does look good. Brian Branch looks really good too.
Yeah.
They look good. Detroit looks good, man.
Detroit does look good. Detroit looks like they're on the come.
Yeah, they look hungry too. So well, let's look at it this
But
way.
should they go for it? Should the Niners be, they're already in go for it mode. I mean, do they have to push? I mean, to me, why create $41 million of cap room?
Mhm.
You're doing it for two reasons. One, to roll over at least half of it for next
Right.
year so that you have the chance to bring back Ayuk and keep your core together. That's one. But two, I think so you can add another piece or two to your mix and become a true Super Bowl contender. I mean, they are a Super Bowl contender, but a true Super Bowl favorite.
Yeah, but I mean, being a favorite is contextualized by how the league plays itself out. It's not
Yeah.
there's two sides of being a favorite, in my opinion, Larry. You can be a favorite for preseason, and you could be in the media guide. That's nice, right? And then you can actually get your real coaches and players picks of who's a Super Bowl favorite. And whoever's a Super Bowl favorite, more oftentimes than not, was strong enough that everybody knew it from the very beginning, or stayed diligent enough and kept their head down and their feet moving long enough till people started noticing them down the road. So I don't necessarily want to make moves to all of a sudden win some type of pageant outside of real games, right? And then let's look at it. What does that mean of getting another high price edge, right? You're already saying it yourself. The reason why your trepidation is about paying this kind of money to defensive linemen is because it's it's the trenches, man. They're the carburetor of the engine. They always have to play. You can't hold him out like he's a receiver or like he's a corner or something. Like he plays line. Like that's like when Spencer was getting rotated in and out as a rookie at guard. That was noticeably awkward to everybody. Why? Because offensive linemen play the entire game, correct? So
Yeah.
for me, I don't
Ideally,
when
yeah.
when you start paying these guys quarterback money, you got to start treating them like quarterbacks, and they're not. They're linemen. They're supposed to be playing. They're supposed to be going into the fray. They're supposed to be near the line of scrimmage where the most physical and most violent position of the game is. And when you start paying them like this, sometimes you start cornering their skill set for what they're good at and not asking them to be great at everything. That's like a lineman. It's hilarious to me. Like interior pass rusher. Dog, you're a shade. You should be able to stop the run. You're a D tackle. Like, what do you specialize at going to get the quarterback? What the hell is that? This ain't arena ball. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I don't I understand that the boys deserve to get paid everything that they earned, right? Nick, this is not me saying that Nick doesn't deserve his money. He put himself in this position. It's the land of the free, the home of the brave. You deserve to be a private contractor and go get your bread, baby. I ain't mad at that. But from a cultural standpoint, you got to understand what that means. That means that we're treating the most rugged part of our team, the tip of our spear, like a pillow princess. That could be a problem. You know what I'm saying? So be careful about how much we pay these guys to just go and get sacks. I reference these sports cars. DNs, in my opinion, these guys are like exotic sports car. Everybody wants a Lamborghini. Everybody wants a Rolls Royce or a Bentley, but nobody wants to pay that $4,000 oil change. Nobody. So they're fun to have until they start giving you maintenance issues. So
Exactly.
you gotta play them. And that's why with Nick, I understand that the juxtaposition is what we paid him all of this money. We can't just throw him out there. We gotta have him for our gotta have it games.
They have
our
no
gotta have it
choice. I
downs.
mean,
But we thank you.
they have no
Perfect is not
choice.
on the menu.
But I
We
mean,
have
beyond
no
perfect, just look at the
choice.
roster. They don't have
Yeah.
any. Who else? Okay, you're playing a game against the Steelers. I've used this stat 5 times, so you've heard it before. Ebukam, Amenahue, Jordan Willis, those 3 guys averaged in the playoffs in the 3 games 91
Right.
snaps per game. Now, Amenahue played a little bit inside, so he had some snaps where he was at tackle. But those guys averaged 91 snaps a game in the playoffs. So I'm looking at a depth chart right now before tomorrow's game, and they play tomorrow, by the way. Nick Bosa, Drake Jackson, Cleveland Farrell, Kerry Hyder. Those are the only 4 defensive ends they have on the roster. Those guys are going to be playing a ton of snaps. There's just no way around that. I mean, and you mentioned it. I mean, I asked Chris Kasarik to his face 3-4 weeks ago. Chris, you got an awesome number 1 line. Your depth is a little bit depleted. Are you still going to run your guys out there in a rotation? He's like, oh man, I can't play my number 1 guy 70 snaps. I go, I know, but I mean, you know, are you going to play him more snaps? He's like, no, I plan on playing my 2s and my 3s and running out my depth like we always have. Well, if that's the case, then get ready for, Kenny Pickett drops back to pass and in a key situation, and here's
Kerry
Cleveland
Hyder's
Farrell.
going after him.
Yeah, it's Kerry Hyder and Cleveland Farrell off the edge. And those guys are hardly burners.
That's the situation, though, Larry. I understand that those guys, they're not sexy, right, optically.
They need more help there, though.
Oh, okay. But we got to figure out how much help we need first. We got to play the games.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't go in there and, shoot your wad and overspend and go get a guy when you may have had it in your building all along. Brian Burns not Brian Burns, but who's the kid out of Georgia that we picked up?
Brian Beal or
Brian Beal.
Robert Beal.
Robert Beal is due to make an appearance late. So we have some guys.
I mean, late in the year. You mean?
Yeah, late in the year.
Yeah.
We've got some guys inside of the building that we can massage the issue, but the first thing you don't do is panic. And now I feel
I'm
as
panicking.
Though you are panicking. I'll tell you this. Now go ahead.
I want Brian Burns, man. I don't want
to pay for him.
I know. But I mean, would you take Chandler Jones off the Raiders' hands? What do you think of Chandler Jones?
No. Yeah. I'm tripping. Yes. I would take Chandler Jones. My only thing is that the strength of what we do isn't necessarily our front 7 or our front 4 for the conversation. What makes us special is our depth. And you don't get depth by going to go get another guy. He's one guy.
Right.
He still can only give you enough snaps. So yeah, it'll be good. And in the moment, you know what I'm saying? It'll be great that we purchased something, and got a guy. But at the end of the day, all of our hopes for changing everything is in one guy. And then what if he gets hurt?
No,
right?
I know. They definitely need more bodies there. I don't know if they need Brian Burns, Chandler Jones expense, but they, I would definitely, with all this money, I definitely would go sign a Melvin Ingram. I definitely would sign a Pierre Paul. I would definitely go get some guys because those guys are going to cost you $1 million, $2 million. They're not going to be expensive items. They may have gotten more if they had been coveted a month ago, but it's now September the 9th. You could probably get those guys. They're looking to win a ring. The same way the NBA has guys who are ring chasing. There's guys in the NFL who are doing the same damn thing. You just got to go find a couple DNs that are ring chasing because right now, I just think they have too many offensive linemen and not enough defensive linemen. And I'm eager to see what it looks like, man. Because on paper, Coach, it sets up for Bosa to play the full game. the
Well,
full
he
game.
has to. I want
Yeah.
him to. You've been home the whole time. Let's look at it this way. Nick didn't budge 1 inch to be able to get what he needed, and nobody's blaming him, right? And he wanted his money right away. Now that he's here, he's playing, man. He's playing. Come on, Larry. He's playing. In that building, is he help? They're probably at the least the most they're doing is asking.
They're going to get ripped to shreds if he pulls a hammy or a quad. You know it. You know it, and I know it. Don't you think? Oh,
No.
my God. You waited till the 11th hour to sign this guy. You rushed him out there, and now he's hurt. You don't think the Niners brass will get blamed if he gets hurt? I do.
I think, I mean, yeah, somebody would be blamed, right? Because this is the NFL. Everybody gets blamed. But,
Heck, they may blame us.
Yeah, they're going to blame us. We get blamed for talking about it. You know what I mean?
Right, we do.
I will say that our fans are smart enough to just take 2 from 2. He hasn't been here all day. I mean, he hasn't been here all camp, but he has to play, Larry. Like he missed camp. He missed OTAs and mini camp. He missed all of preseason, right? Like, how are we going to roll him out and barely win games, right? He's got to play. And then defensively, how are you going to be rolling him out and then still expecting Coach Wilkes to do a good job as a first-year defensive coordinator? Coach Wilkes is just, I mean, Coach Wilkes has had Nick in the building for 96 hours, man. That's it. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. He's got to get on the field.
Well, no, he's gonna play. There's no doubt he's gonna play. They asked Shanahan the other day, Coach, hey, how many snaps can Nick play? And he goes, how many snaps are there in a game? In other words, I mean, he's playing. He's playing all the snaps.
There's absolutely no. And then
I know. I mean, he has to play. It's a tough deal.
He has to play, Larry. He has to play. There's no way that they could sit him down with what he means to that defense. And conversely, what we're talking about with the lack of depth at the defensive end spot, he's got to be able to play. And it's an emotional jolt. The boys are going to play a lot harder with him there. And we don't even know how much he has to play as it applies to Javon Hargraves. Javon Hargraves hasn't even played with Nick Bosa. And that's really, if we're talking about assets spent, he was supposed to be the biggest asset that we spent on for free agency, right? So he needs to be able to play next to Nick as well. We need to be, and then defensively, we need to know what Nick can do for us right away. He's got to play, Larry.
No, I mean, he's going to play. He's going to play. I'm fearful of how much, but he's going to play.
All right. What would you say? I know you mentioned it before, but what would you say? You would play him in the first. You would.
Well, I mean,
alternate
the way,
series?
Coach, the way that I can't even that. Okay, forget looking at the roster. Just like what would be smart. I think it would be smart to play him on third downs in the first half and play him as much as you need to play him in the second half to win the game. But when I look at the Niner depth chart and I see how thin they are, if he doesn't play, who's going to play defensive end? You can't play Drake Jackson and Cleveland Farrell and Kerry Hyder the whole game. So you're going to have to.
Nick makes it easier for everybody, Larry. If you think about it, he makes it easier for everybody.
He's the guy.
So and this is a great point that we just kind of stumbled upon. We're so worried about getting Nick hurt or rolling him out the right way, kind of giving him like a soft grand opening, if you will. But really, Nick playing is going to be able to help everybody else with their depth. You said it yourself. Coach Krueger can't play his ones at 70+ snaps. Well, that's going to be hard to do if you have your regular unit playing at a regular workload and then you're rolling Nick out with a pitch count, right? So we don't even know what him playing looks like, right? A full workload for Nick could be 45 to 50 snaps a game, right?
Yeah.
So 45 to 50 snaps a game. I would give him a full workload, and in the first half, he'll be fresh, and then ask him how he feels in the second half.
Yeah. I mean, my point is just, it's almost like buying a Bentley and driving it off the lot and then driving it across the country. And you've never taken it on any shorter drives. You haven't tuned it up. You haven't done anything. You just bought it, and now here you're going on a cross-country jaunt. It's
All
like
right,
it's
so
probably gonna get there. Why? Because it's a freaking
it's a
Bentley.
Bentley.
It's a freaking Bentley, and it's brand new, and it's probably comes out of the shop. It comes out of the
That thing should be able to
off the
do
lot.
go to California and back from Florida.
Right. Right. I mean, look at Reggie Jackson. I just watched this the other night, the Uncivil War. Reggie Jackson won the MVP of the World Series in 77, hits the 3 bombs on 3 different swings, buys himself a Rolls Royce, and drove it to California the next day. So that's kind of what they're doing here with Nick Bosa. They're driving their Rolls Royce across country the first day. We'll find out. Hopefully
I
everything's
like the
is
analogy,
smooth.
but you know for what you spend on it, it should be able to make it
I know.
and back
No, I know.
and back. And if something happens, then you have to understand that it was just either a malfunction or it just couldn't be helped.
My buddy Gary Radnich bought a Bentley, and he kept getting tickets because there was no front license plate. And the cops kept pulling him over, giving him tickets. So he goes back to the Bentley place, and he's like, "Hey, where is the place in the front for the front plates?" And they're like, "Oh, they didn't design one. They thought it wouldn't look as good." He's like, "Well, but you get tickets if you don't have a front plate." He's like, "Yeah." In other words, part of owning the Bentley is that you just have to get
taking on the
tickets.
tickets.
I mean, think about that. That
You
just for the
include
look.
yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. Jay Peasy says, Krug, do you believe that we have a D line that can still be good against the run with all the changes to the line this season? I'm worried about the backup D line and the backup O line. Coach, the Niners didn't stop the run worth a damn in the preseason. Chargers 6.5 a carry. Broncos 6.5 a carry. Raiders own the A gaps in the first game. I asked Shanahan about it. He said, "Hey, look, if it was based on how," I said, "Are you concerned about the run D?" He said, "If it was based on what I saw in the preseason, yeah, I am. But we were number 1 in the run last year. Kelly got a big run on us. We didn't adjust well to the running quarterback. When Duggan was doing his thing. So you know what? I have reason to believe that we'll be better week 1." That was his answer. But he acknowledged that if it was based on the preseason, that the 49ers, that he wouldn't feel good about the 49ers and how they've looked against the run. How much of a concern is that when you look at the fact that if you look at the Niner depth chart, Coach, they're all one-gap penetrators. Hargrave, one-gap penetrator. Givens, one-gap penetrator. Kalia, one-gap penetrator. The only guys on that interior that you could argue or not would be Armstead, who's awesome against the run, and then Kinlaw, who should be awesome against the run, but just kind of isn't. So how concerned are you about the Niner run D?
I'm very concerned. For all of the depth that we're talking about, we're going to
even
have
get
to
to
have
third
a lot
and
of
long?
guys. Yeah, exactly. Can we even get to third and long? And that's what I said about Javon Hargraves. Our money for Javon doesn't even really start coming in until we get him until third and long. But can we get him to third and long? Can we stop the run? I'm very concerned about the interior defensive line. It didn't look good. And a lot of it, the reason why I'm worried about it is it not necessarily just a binary players are bad, so they're not good, ergo we're gonna lose. Like, it's not that, but I feel like the boys necessarily aren't too comfortable with the run fits that we have. We're doing a lot of stunting up front. Even against the Raiders, there was a play where Javon Kinlaw was stunted. He stunted himself right out of the run play and left a gaping hole. That's miscommunication. That's stuff where you're not reading that stuff right, and also that stuff where that offense just hits it right at times. For me, Eric Armstead is really kind of the tip of the spear of what we can depend on from the interior of our defense. Javon Hargraves is somebody who we can do good things with, but he leaves much to be desired in the run game. But I haven't seen him play enough on our side of the pond to know exactly what he's going to give us. I am hopeful though for younger players in Kalia Davis. I feel as though that he's going to be able to step in and do some things for us later on in the
Yeah, I
season
agree.
once he gets his opportunities. But as far as just being stout, um, there was a time where defense on our team we didn't have to look at other players, right? That's why being a Niners fan is so dope, right? Because we got our own superheroes. But it did feel bad to have to play against Denver and see DJ Jones and like see
Yeah,
what stout interior defensive linemen look like, and to realize that not
that's our
only was
guy.
he ours, come on, he's
He was like one of
ours.
my favorite guys too. I love DJ.
I
DJ
love
was like
DJ Jones, man,
great
but
person.
great person too, exactly. But not only even better player, but it kind of it gave me a little bit of I was remiss because we don't have anybody like DJ Jones on the interior, right? And before the DJ Jones days, I wouldn't care about other teams' interior defensive linemen because of what we had. And right now, it looks like that maybe from an interior defensive line standpoint, from stopping the run specifically, we may be a tick behind the standard, right? And you know what the league is all about. The league is about standard. Can you meet this benchmark of elite play? Can you do that? And for us, when you look at the starters that we have for the interior defensive line, Eric Armstead and Javon Hargrave are great, right? Good name recognition. But as far as our depth is concerned, we just don't look as stout as we could be coming into the season. And part of that is just going from our past years, right? What we know we look like, right? So it's not as if that we're nitpicking or coming up with some type of intrinsic value in what we think we deserve, but really we're just going off of our own track record of what we know interior defensive linemen look like. And right now there's a possibility of us being below standard, but that's why we play the games. So we
I
got to
mean,
see it.
if the Niners get a lead, I love this D line. Why?
Mhm.
Because Givens is a one gap penetrator. He can rush the passer. They've got Hargrave who can rush the passer. They've got Kalia Davis. I think he can rush the
He
passer.
can rush the passer. That was
You,
his. That's what he does.
yeah, they've got some speed inside. What worries me is if the Steelers run it successfully on first and second down and get to 3rd and 1 all day, and
Hmm.
then it's Kinlaw and Armstead trying desperately to plug up the middle. On 3rd and short, and you don't ever get to 3rd and long. And you have Nick Bosa, but he's not getting to the quarterback because they're not in 3rd and long very much. Third
Right.
string all pros is laughing my ass off. Can we just watch week 1 before reacting about preseason football? Yes and no. I mean, I
Now we're
agree with.
just all right. So look, we're talking about what we see, and you're listening to hear about us talk about what we see. Week 1 hasn't happened yet. What is the issue? Like, we still have to talk about what we see. And if you don't care about what we're talking about, then why are you commenting about what we see? Like, come on. Like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? So either you're going to be in the party and dance or don't show up at all. Right? I don't get comments like that. We're talking about what we saw, and we're
It's
trying to see if that's going to bear out, and we're going to forecast to see whether or not if that happens, and we don't want it to happen. That's what the conversation is, man. Get with it.
there's
Like,
always there's always one dude who rolls into the conversation and tries to just throw
just a
the
contrarian for no reason.
well, just
Like, I
throwing
don't
the
even
A
get
bomb
that.
on the whole conversation. Why are we even talking about this? Why are we? That
Why
always
did
used
you
to
even
kill me.
comment?
Yeah. Why is this even a discussion? Oh my god. It's
As
a
you have the
freaking chat.
discussion.
You're
Yeah, like,
chatting. It's a
I don't
freaking
want to.
live stream.
I want to discuss about not having this discussion. Like, come on, bro.
Why are we talking about any of this? None of it matters until the playoffs.
Let's just
All
show up
right.
on week 1.
Yeah. Oh wait a second. None of this matters. All right, we're out of here.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Larry. I'll let you.
We're out. We're out. Preseason doesn't matter.
Right.
GTC Real says trade for Joey Bosa. Oh, there you go.
Mm.
Wouldn't that be rich? have the
my God.
Boses.
You
Holland
can't have
Tracy.
two in the room.
He says you might be onto something, Larry, now that Austin Bryant got released, talking about what the Niners may do. This one, kind of an interesting one. John Vease's coach. And Larry, good to see you, fellas. Good to see you, John. Darwin, it's like Romper Room. I see Mary. I see Bobby. Do you remember Romper Room? It's probably too old for you. It was a little kid show.
Help.
It was a little kid show as a kid. And they would start the show with I see Sally and I see Bobby. Romper Room. And I'd be standing there as like a 4-year-old in front of the TV. I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm right here. My sister and I, we're right here. I see Larry. He sees me. They see me.
Yo.
Darwin Nolan. Guys, the 49ers need secondary help. I don't know about that. They
We've
could
done a
use
lot
C.J.
to our
Gardner
secondary.
Johnson.
Really, they just got to show up.
And they got to get Mooney healthy. I mean, that's a big one. Third string All-Pro, $45 million in cap space plus 12 draft picks. John and Kyle are scheming something crazy.
Why are we talking about draft in the beginning of the season? There's no way in there. What are we even talking about the draft for?
Yeah, why are we talking draft? I mean, come on. We're too early for draft. We're too late for preseason. Let's just talk about this morning. And it's a beautiful sunrise. It's a beautiful sunrise. John Shoup says they absolutely need another edge rusher. Thank you, John. Pissed off brother Bob's his coach and Kevin's dad, a.k.a. Purdy's pimp. What a show. Pig in a pickle. There you go. Pig in a pickle. We got this one from 69ers, 42-7 Niners. It won't be close. I read the script. What do you think, Coach? What kind of game do you envision?
It's going to be a tough one.
I don't think it's going to be that, by the way.
No way.
42-7 Niners, no way.
No way. It's going to be a tough one. It's going to be, I feel like it's going to be definitely going to be a game of attrition as far as the trenches are concerned. Pittsburgh just wants to make you prove that you can't do certain things, right? They're a vanilla, straight up and down football team. So
they're not going to beat themselves, by the way.
They're not going to beat. That's a perfect way of putting that, Larry. They're not going to beat themselves. They're going to put 7 in the box, and they're going to make us prove that we can run the ball. Show us what your bread and butter is first. Honestly, quite honestly, I think that their DBs are confident enough to not even worry about the back end. They'll play man. They just want to stop the run. I think they're not worried about Brock getting the ball out. And also, I feel like on defense, they're willing to give up some things too, especially the short stuff. So what I do know is they're going to be playing a little bit like Oakland, driving down on everything, coming downfield, breaking off routes, which could be good for us because we can catch them sleeping. There's a lot. What I will say is that they're going to be playing with a lot of confidence against us defensively, because with an offense like ours, because we're deemed as intricate, defenses like to just come in there and just mess stuff up. You know, be a bull in the china cabinet, right? Throw off cadences, come in there, throw off shades and motions, and get a couple of holding calls on defense. They just want to mess up the game and get it real muddy, because the truth of the matter is the common denominator is they don't want us to get a rhythm on offense. They do not want us to get a rhythm.
3 and out.
So, yeah. So, really, for what I see defensively, I feel as though that they're going to be cocky. They're going to come after Brock, too. I feel like they're going to come after him early. They're going to try to.
Well, they only blitzed like 28% last year, 27%. It was pretty low blitz rate. They get it done typically with their front four.
With their front four. Yeah. But
I mean, that's to me
because of
the
that,
big
that's
question
why I think they are going to come and go get them.
You think they're going to send extra guys?
Yeah, well, Brock gets the ball out very quick, Larry.
I know, but if you bring extra guys, you're giving them defined reads.
True.
You know what I mean? And
I feel like
they're
they're kind of betting on him getting it there and seeing if he can make the throw. I think Pittsburgh is going to play with a lot of confidence against us defensively. I really do.
They look great in the preseason,
man.
But wait a second, we can't talk preseason.
They look good, man.
They look good. I watched all 3 of their preseason games. They overwhelmed Tampa. They overwhelmed Buffalo. And then Atlanta inexplicably played their 2s and 3s and got destroyed by Pittsburgh.
Yeah, like you know what I look at preseason games like is like when you play fighting with your sibling, and you're the older brother. He swings one good time on you and connects, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just playing." Like I feel like a lot of teams they lost to Pittsburgh, but they tried to make it look like it was a preseason game when really they were getting dominated.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh is just a team where I don't know. They just take on the personality of their head coach, and Mike Tomlin doesn't seem like a guy who would say that a preseason game doesn't matter. They're just always ready to play when the ball is rolled out. So uh, I
Coach,
will.
if you wore the right shades on the right day, and walked around like
I
malls
know.
in Pittsburgh, people would almost say you're Mike Tomlin.
I get it all the time.
Do
I
you?
get it all the time. I knew what you were gonna say as soon as you said it.
When you started saying Mike Tomlin, then because I've watched a bunch of Mike Tomlin conversations this week,
Hmm.
I think he's one of the best coaches I've ever seen. I think he's really, really good. But he wears these shades that are kind of big and almost like a Marvin Hagler boxing shades. The day after boxing shades. And if
Hmm.
you could just find those right shades, and you were in Pittsburgh, people would be like, Mike Tomlin. I just saw Mike Tomlin, man. Though your beard's a little thicker than his.
Yeah, my beard's a little thicker. What can I go? Can I go for Mike? Can I go for
You
Mike?
could. Those are not exactly the kind of shades he has, but yeah, Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
If we that'd be hilarious. Go to like a mall in Pittsburgh and just because you know the way people are, they never really know if someone's famous
They never
until
know.
until somebody comes over and says, "Can I take a picture with you?" And then
Right.
all of a sudden people are like, "Wait, who is that? Who is that?" You could totally fall. They could totally. You could pass for Mike Tomlin. Um, I saw their preseason games. They right now, Coach, just looking at
They
the
picked up Desmond
Steelers,
King too, by the way, Larry.
which I think is a good pickup.
That's a strong pickup.
Yeah, as a nickelback. I mean, I think that watching them in the preseason, what was clear to me. Let's just talk about their defense for a second.
Hmm.
They've got the best collection of edge rushers in the game.
Talk
You
about
got T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith off the edges. Those are the starters. Then they have Marcus Golden, who's just been a Niner killer through the years. And they drafted a kid out of Wisconsin this year named Nick Herbig, whose brother is an Steeler offensive lineman, Nate Herbig, who played for Stanford. Well, Nick played for Wisconsin, and he's like T.J. Watt. And in like whatever 44 preseason snaps or something, the guy's got 4 sacks and 8 pressures.
it.
I
Hmm.
mean, he's been absolutely huge. So they pressure you off the edge with those guys, but they also have Cam Hayward inside, and Cam Hayward is a double-digit sack guy. They drafted Keanu Benton out of Wisconsin. They've got Larry Okunjobi. To
Keanu
me,
Benton is a force.
yeah, he's
He's a
strong,
force.
very strong player. So to me, it's like, can the Niners block the Steeler front? That's question number one. If
Right.
they can, it's major advantage 49ers. Why? Because I don't believe that Cole Holcomb or Elandon Roberts or Keanu Neal or their corners, Levi Wallace, Chandon Sullivan, Pat
Pat Pete.
Pete at this point, even the rookie Joey Porter. I don't
Mhm.
think the Steelers can defend the 49er receivers on the back end if the Steeler rush doesn't get home. I think
Well,
their
secondary
whole
is what
rush
they
is
do,
predicated
Larry.
on protecting
You know,
their back end. I don't think they're
defense
great
is
on the
what this-
back end.
Okay, well they're not great. They're not great. I will give you that.
They got
But
Minka.
they're savvy. They're savvy. They're very savvy. They got Pat
Yeah.
P back there. They got Minka. They got Levi Wallace. So those three, off rip, know their way around the secondary.
And they all
Okay.
have size and are
And
physical.
they all have size. They all are physical. They are dual. They all can do it in the run game and they can do it in the pass game. And they're very heady, especially Pat P and Minka, and all three of them really. So I understand. They may not pop on paper, but and adding Desmond King, who is another dog at nickel, right?
Yeah.
That's more depth.
Good, very good, very solid, sound football
Very
player.
solid.
Played at
I mean,
Iowa.
we saw him against us when he came up here. The game against he played with Trey. Desmond King was all over the place.
And the Steelers grabbed him. I mean, as soon as
Right
the
away.
Texans cut him loose, it was like, oh, we got him.
We got
They
him. Like,
were very
I would have
decisive.
loved to have him.
I know. I would have too.
So I understand that they may not be a fan favorite as far as their secondary is concerned, but that's really not what the Steelers do. The Steelers are stout. They bring in guys that know how to play 60 minutes, that are going to stick their nails in all three phases of the game, and they're not going to beat themselves. This is the team. This is the team that people, quite frankly, don't like playing, right?
No,
And they love it that way.
Especially week one.
Especially week one. And they like it that way. You know that they wear this on their sleeves, being the team that nobody wants to play, being the 60-minute team. Honestly speaking, one thing that's dangerous about fans of Pittsburgh and just their entire team is that they don't trip about winning Super Bowls. Like, they're very comfortable coming in with a 10-win season as long as they do it the right way and have respect. And if they get in the playoffs, they look at the tournament. They look at the tournament as just what it is. It's a tournament. We have enough Super Bowls not to be clinging after trying to shirk and jerk the process. That's one of the reasons why the Steelers are kind of a respected and very liked franchise, but a franchise that you got to be afraid of playing, especially in our position, because they just love to play spoiler, and they're very, how can I say this? What do I feel about the Steelers? Like, they're very self-aware. They're very sure of themselves. And I just feel like they're a team where, when we come in there, everything that's been happening all year, they've been ingesting it. All off season, they know what's going on. And I think that they're just going to be a little bit more polished than us. A little bit more polished.
It's a tough week one matchup. There's no question.
It's a tough one, man. Yeah, and that's nothing against us, right?
We're physical too. No, I think
right.
Hey, Ray McLeod said, "Man, this is an ice bag game." Cleveland Farrell said, "Hey, man," I said, "You're a veteran. You've been in these situations. What would you say to the young guys getting in the locker room before this one?" He's like, "Man, it's going to be an atmosphere. They're going to have their terrible towels. There's going to be people yelling and screaming. It's going to be loud. It's going to be boisterous." And what I would say to him is, if you're afraid, go get a dog.
Yeah.
That's what he said. Made me laugh. Niners and Steelers have combined for 11 Super Bowls. 11 Super Bowls. So, and there's a lot of subplots here. Brock Purdy's trying to return from the torn UCL. Nick Bosa is coming back from the holdout. Mm-hmm. Pittsburgh's well coached, and they're always really good at week one, especially at home. The Niners have started slow under Shanahan. They're 2-4 in their previous 6 week ones under Shanahan, and they've only scored 20 points a game in those week ones. They're averaging over 24 a game the rest of the time. Let's hit some of these super chats, and we'll hit a couple of more angles. Pissed Off Brother Bob says, Niners 37, Pittsburgh 17. He says, Purdy's pimp, no faith in Brock Purdy, always 30+. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, one thing about this whole averaging 33 points a game situation, we have to understand that the number one offense in the league wasn't even averaging 33 points a game. That was a blip in time.
That was 29 a game for KC last year.
Yeah.
The Niners with Purdy averaged 33.
Exactly.
You're saying it was a small sample size.
Yes.
And there's going to be a regression to the mean, I think is what you're saying.
There you go, Larry.
There's going to be a regression. It makes sense. I mean, come on, that's logical.
I love it when we level set, when we get on the same page.
Well, here's the other one. Kittle and Mooney are questionable. Now, I saw Lombardi said they're questionable and likely to play, but questionable means 50-50. Mm-hmm. Which guy do the Niners need more to win this game? Kittle or Mooney Ward?
Mooney Ward.
Really? Okay. Why Mooney?
He's
Pickens, Deontay.
Like a number one.
Deontay is underrated, Coach. Deontay is really underrated for the Steelers.
He is. I honestly speaking, I'm interested to see what Xavier Mooney can do, because he's got a new coach in Coach Wilkes, and we've been seeing. I feel like they've been working diligently over the offseason. There's a lot of like one-on-one work that you've seen them do throughout camp. especially like before and after practice and all like during special teams periods. So I really think that I would play Mooney. I would want Mooney to play if I had to choose between the two. It really doesn't work out that way. Hopefully they can both play. But really, George, there's a huge drop off without George in the tight end room, but the skill set of what we do allows us to put people in there and be protected, right? If George isn't playing, we don't necessarily have to put a tight end out there in routes. We can get to it a different way. But if Mooney's not playing, that means that's a whole nother guy that is responsible for being on that left-hand side in the corner. I don't want that.
Yeah.
Him
No,
being down is a big deal.
I agree.
Like
I agree.
George,
Which
yeah,
which Steeler weapon scares you the most? I mean, this is what they got. They got Deontay Johnson, wears number 18, really underrated.
Mm-hmm.
Just, we could talk great receivers in the NFL all day, every day. Nobody would ever say his name, but he's really, really hard to defend. Then they have George Pickens, who's a great talent. They got Allen Robinson out of the slot. They got the return guy, who's a really dangerous guy, out Calvin Austin III. He had a great preseason. Then they got the three-headed monster in the backfield, Najee, Jalen Warren, Anthony McFarland, who I think is the guy that scares me. And then they got Freiermuth. And they got the gigantic Darnell Washington. And you got Kenny Pickett with the two gloves, and Connor Hayward at fullback, who they throw it to. Which of their weapons, Coach, do you think Steve Wilks stayed up at night thinking about this week?
Najee.
Really?
Yeah.
A lot of people think Najee's overrated.
Yeah.
He's power. He runs straight upright, though.
Yeah. Najee is like he can pace your game for you if you use him the right way. Najee is an all down back, all three downs, and he's a threat out of the backfield. Najee can also be leaked out in the backside to be really like linked up one-on-one with Oren Burks. Right on the backside, Najee can get open against he can get open against safeties, he can get open against linebackers, and he can get open against corners. That's a fact. And he gets stronger as the game goes on. Usually when you see him, I said this on the last another show. They're running together on me now, but when you first watch Najee play, you kind of get frustrated with the style because you're trying to figure out like what's his like feel out process. What are you doing? He usually tries always bounce. He's more of kind of like as far as tempo is concerned and running style, he's like a poor man's Le'Veon. To be honest with you, he's a pick and slider, but he's big enough to tote the mail for all four quarters, and he gets stronger as the game goes on. And he finishes runs very well. And that's where the beauty of Najee starts coming in. Not only do you get his versatility for being such a big bag, but Najee, he's really good in yards after contact, right? Once you touch him,
he's a horse. The guy's, what does he weigh? He got to weigh 240.
I think he weighs like 220. You know what I'm saying?
Really? He looks huge.
Yeah, he's big. Yeah, and for me, I think like that's the type of back where you can prove where if a team, this is the thing.
Got to hit him in the mouth.
It ain't about what you know; it's what you can prove, right? And the Steelers can know.
It's like a few good men.
Yeah, it's the Steelers know. If the Steelers know that we can't stop the run on the interior, that's cool. But can you exploit it, right? And Najee is the type of back where if they find out we can't stop the run, they got a guy where they'll say, "Oh, we'll just throttle Kenny down." You know what I'm saying? George Pickens, have a day. Everybody relax. We're going to line up Washington and our nice offensive line, and we're going to carry the ball 25 to 30 times a game. And we're going to sprinkle in a good back, or we're going to sprinkle in our backfield to keep Najee fresh, and we're going to get up 2 scores and ride you guys out because it's only 60 minutes in this thing. So, really, that's the thing that worries me about the Steelers is that they can really control. They could just pour water on us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And just say,
they could dominate the time of possession. Yeah.
Right. You can't stop the run? This is going to be low and slow. Let's kick our feet up. We got a back that can go 60 minutes. We'll pace them out. And we got the offensive line that can do it. And if we lose a game like that, buckle up.
Yeah. Well, that's the big question. Can the Steeler O-line and they didn't run it that well in the preseason. And their O-line, I think, is not that good. It's not it's not an Eagles O-line. It's a solid O-line with a solid plan. But I don't think it's a spectacular O-line. If this O-line hands the Niner D-line their lunch, man, it could be that could bode for bad things.
But this is the conversation you want to have.
There are better O-lines than this.
But thank you. Now, this is the conversation. This is what I love about the season starting, Larry, is because now we don't sit here and get high off our own supply where we're just reading our own newspaper clippings. We get to actually go out in the league and see what we measure up. And then now you start juxtaposing what they've been telling us inside of the building with, you guys ain't up to snuff. You know what I'm saying? We're watching the rest of the league. You know what I'm saying? So I do want to see this because I feel like the questions that we have about our defense, especially with stopping the run, we can answer those questions early this week with this game. We can answer those questions early.
Yeah.
Because we sure as hell are about to play a team that's going to run the ball and make us prove that we can stop it. So I want to see it. And I want to be wrong. Because right now, for what we've seen, we can't act like we're blind. You know what I'm saying? They was getting moved like furniture out there against Oakland and Denver. You know, so really, the Steelers, like you said, this is almost a perfect game for us because they're not good enough for us to explain away a loss, right? Because if this was like the Chiefs or the Eagles, right, we could explain away a loss and say, well, hey, man, tensions were high. Somebody had to lose. This is a high, you know what I mean? It's almost like week one in college, you get on a neutral site and Alabama plays Texas in week one. It's kind of like everybody's going to give you guys grace. It's week one. We just want to see a great game, right? And then if you play a team that's really bad, then they can just blame it on themselves and say, oh, well, we weren't really up for the game. This isn't who we really are. But I feel as though that the Steelers are the perfect litmus test because they're good enough to be respected. They're sound enough and stout enough to point out the problems that we have if we have any. And they have enough cachet for it to stick, right? So it's not like if we played a really, really good team, we could parse it off as a blockbuster game that we just watched.
Well, I mean, that's the other question. Are we going to come out of this game going the Steelers are a really, really good team? They won, I think, like 7 of 9 to finish the year. They just went 3-0 in the preseason. Kenny Pickett had led 5 offensive drives in the preseason. They scored 5 touchdowns. On those 27 plays or whatever, he went 13 of 15, 199 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he's basically done whatever he wanted to do in the preseason. We know they're good defensively. They've got a bunch of good weapons. Right. We're going to find out. We're going to find out a lot about the Niner defensive line because this offensive line is solid, but nothing more. These backs are good, but nothing special. I don't think Najee's special. He's a big back. He gives you a big target.
I want to
see Greenlaw hit him in the mouth. Right. I want to see Greenlaw knock him back a few times.
Now we're talking, Larry. Like I want us to look like a team that is better than the team they're playing.
Right.
Right.
And we could see anything in this game. The Niners could outclass the Steelers, or the Steelers could outclass the Niners.
Outclass us. Yeah.
And the Steelers, the thing that bothers me is the Niners historically under Shanahan start slow. And the Steelers historically under Tomlin start fast. So, and the Niners have been pointing to this, getting off to a fast start all summer. That's what getting Bosa signed was all about. So can the Niners flip that script? I mean, the one thing about this, it lines up for the Steelers, but the one thing I have a hard time getting away from, it's the Niners who are 5-1 in Vegas to win the Super Bowl. The Steelers are like 50-1. So the Niners are supposed to be a Super Bowl contender. The Niners are supposed to be in that top tier with the Chiefs and Eagles. The Steelers are not. So what is it going to look like? What's this one going to look like? A couple things before we jet here. Fozzie says 49ers now have $41 million in cap room. Your thoughts? We hit that early. Go back and you can check out our whole dialogue on that. Bass Spokane Niner fan says, what are we going to do with $41.5 million in cap space? Once again, hit that early. Mike Monahan says, Coach, Yo Channel is live, but tomorrow, right? Tomorrow after the game, him and
the
Vish.
channel's going to be live tomorrow, and I might have something for you guys later on in the afternoon. I might be linking up with somebody who's actually in Pittsburgh. So
Nice.
So follow the Twitter. And go ahead.
I had Max Starks and Bill Hillgrove on yesterday.
I saw that.
Dude, Bill Hillgrove was like, dude, are you kidding me? This guy was born in 1940.
He was handpicked by Rooney himself.
Yeah. Like, he's a great dude too. God, a great guy.
It was a good get, man.
He was really good, and I thought maybe, hey, guy in his 80s, probably maybe he wouldn't be able to figure out how to dial in on the YouTube.
Quick.
No. Popped in. It was incredible.
Put you to shame, Larry.
I know. Seriously. I never should have doubted Mr. Hillgrove. And I felt silly calling him Bill, but he's like, my dad is Mr. Hillgrove. You can call me Bill. Jay Peasy says, thoughts on our back-end defense. We hit that. Appreciate that. And we have this one from GTC Reels. Peace out. All of a great day. It's football. Tomorrow, get hyped. There you go.
Oh, it's going to be on tomorrow. I'm going to be so hyped, ready to go. It's week 1. You got to run with what you brung, baby. It's on. All the narratives are over. It's time.
Pissed off brother Bob says, go with Notre Dame. They're giving 7, 49-10 against NC State. Book it. He says, Kevin here. Kevin's got money on that one, but brother Bob. Kevin already told me he's got Notre Dame against NC State. And we got this one, Yoda Misfits Relentless, $4.99. He says, leadership from 49er coaches is the weakest link on this team. Kyle has nowhere near the leadership qualities as the likes of Tomlin, Saleh, and Campbell.
That's why we play the games, though. We're about to see.
I mean, we'll find out on that. Pissed off brother Bob says, Coach, I'm giving Purdy's pimp shit because he always says Brock Purdy's 33-plus a game.
Yeah, you do, Larry. You got to let that go. You say that with your chest a lot.
I do. It's worked for me. Ricky Williams says, scared for Wilkes, hoping the backfield holds up. All right, let me ask you a couple quick ones here. Is Brock Purdy a better prospect than Kenny Pickett, or is Kenny Pickett a better prospect than Brock Purdy? They're both prospects at this point, right?
Yeah, well, right now, if not to, get out of the question, if I'm going to answer it, I would say Kenny. Kenny's been a starter longer than Brock. His team wanted him to come in and be the starter well before we even noticed who Brock was. Now, when Brock got his shot, he's done way more than Kenny with the opportunities that he's been given. But Kenny's just been a little bit more consistent as far Kenny's just been a little bit more consistent with just his playing time and his experience. He just has a little bit more than Brock right now, and he has a bigger frame. So as far as being a better prospect is concerned, I don't know. The NFL guys took on Kenny Pickett well before they even took a look at Brock. That should say something for what that means in a vacuum. But, just net, Kenny has been a starter for his team, and they've already penciled him in as being the guy well before we did with Brock. So,
Smitty Franklin says Kenny has bigger muscles but smaller hands, and that's why he wears the gloves.
Small ass hands.
You never want to have small hands. All right, last one. This is kind of interesting. This was a report that came out yesterday or the day before that Mike Shanahan said that in the first draft that Lynch and Shanahan had together. Now, this is Mike talking about the 49ers, his son Kyle and John Lynch, that the Niners tried to trade the number 2 pick, which ultimately they wound up with Solomon Thomas, to Washington for Kirk Cousins, but that Dan Schneider and the Commanders or the Redskins at the time just wouldn't answer the phone, wouldn't pick up the phone because of how things ended, with acrimony between Shanahan and Schneider between Mike Shanahan and Schneider during Mike Shanahan's run there. What do you think of that? How would this regime be different if they had not gone with Solomon Thomas, But actually, so that was a bust. But then they also would have passed on Mahomes and Deshaun Watson for a trade of Kirk Cousins. If the Niners had had Kirk Cousins from the outset, would Shanahan have his ring? I mean, it's all projection.
Now, with what we know now, possibly.
Maybe they get it done in 2019.
Yeah, like things get revealed when how can I say this? Like things get revealed in calamity, right? And I feel like one of the best things that we know now is what Kyle wants in a quarterback, right? He can't fool us anymore. He can't fool us into believing that he wants these super athletic Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson type athletic quarterbacks. No, the scheme that you run dictates the type of quarterback that you need. So if Kyle would have got Kirk early and we'd have rode, let's just give Kirk Jimmy's arc, and Kirk came in, played 5 games, and by the time we go through all of the bullshit, we get to 2019. With Kirk, we might have done it. But at the same time, like, this is one thing that tracks. Kirk Cousins has not been the same Kirk Cousins every year that Kyle Shanahan wanted him, right? So that's something too.
Right. Some years he's been good, and people are like, man, they should have gotten Cousins. Other years he's been bad and be like, oh, thank God they didn't go for Cousins.
So it hasn't been always the same Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins early, they took you just took the comment right out of my mouth. He was a notorious choke artist. He used to always throw picks at the most inopportune times. Dude,
look at the way last year ended. Look at the way last year ended for them in the playoffs. He needed wasn't it 4th and 8, and he threw for 2 yards? And that was it.
Son, not only that,
it down.
I remember Kirk used to have the mark on Kirk was like he would like do tremendously bad on Monday nights. Remember that? Like for some reason on Monday
he doesn't
night
win
football,
he doesn't win big games.
Win big games. And
doesn't win playoff games.
Yeah, so I understand that the Kirk kind of gets put in this, this mythical unicorn perspective with Niners fans because we never actually got to get him in the building. But Kirk, when they spent $82 million guaranteed on Kirk in Minnesota, he was not worth that money.
No.
You have to be honest about that. He was not.
No, I mean
worth
that's the loser proposition in the NFL is paying a pretty good quarterback big cash.
Right.
That's and you see it around the league. Derek Carr is making $44 million or whatever.
And he's not worth that money. He's not. Right. And
he stays healthy though. He would have stayed healthy more than Jimmy.
You have to ask yourself this. Do we have our roster with Kirk playing hardball with us, trying to get guaranteed money? Do we have the roster that we have? I don't think so.
We probably don't get Bosa. I mean, I'm saying we. Niners don't get Bosa if they have Kirk. They wouldn't have been that bad.
You're a fan. Come on.
I know, but I can't go with the we. I can't go with the we.
Well,
hopefully we beat him tomorrow. Hopefully we take him down.
We get him.
We're gonna get him.
Yeah. So Kirk has now become more of this veteran, but even in his last season, like he still has those traits, man. Kirk isn't perfect.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like we would have to bring him on, and not only putting up with that stuff, he would be expensive. If Kirk was everything we thought he was, he'd be carrying Minnesota, but he's not.
Oh, I know. Hey, we moved this up to 8 a.m. Pacific for some of you checking in right now going, hey, man, I thought you guys started at 9. We normally start at 9, but I got a sales meeting out in Burlingame at 11, so I'm going to have to jet right here. But, Coach, let's finish with this. Let's go with our final predictions on this game. What's your
Steelers?
25-20 Steelers. Okay. 25-20 Steelers.
I think special teams is going to bite us in the ass this week.
Hate to hear that. And that's happened before. Xavier says Niners 38, Steelers 9. Wow. I'm going to go with the 49ers under Brock Purdy were averaging 33 a game. No, I'm just fucking with you. I will say the Steeler defense will slow down the Niners a little bit, but the Niners do have an explosive offense. So I'm going to say 24, Niners 24, Steelers 17. I think the Steelers are a lower scoring team. I don't think they're going to put up a big number. Brock's going to have to take care of the football. Colt McKivitz is going to have to block TJ Watt. Niners are going to have to get the ball out. But I don't think Brock's going to wet the bed. And I think the Niners receivers have advantages against the Steeler DBs. I do expect to see this in this game, Coach, what I've seen all summer from the 49ers, which is a lot of the short game, a lot of the game, within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage, a lot of bootleg, a lot of play action.
A lot of waggle. You know what it is, man. We're just going to be where they're not.
Right.
That's the offense. We're going to
a lot of pitch and catch, maybe a little pass game.
Come on, man.
Little pass game, maybe they open up the run game in the second half. I could see Elijah Mitchell getting hurt in this game, but I also could see him doing some good things in the second half on the ground in this game. I like the Niners 24-17 to get it done on the road.
Us to just, and I want to be wrong, right? I want us to win this game. I know what this game means for us as far as the season is concerned. But if we win, I'm going to be pleasantly surprised because I know one thing. If we do win, I know we'll be on time on offense. We're going to be on time. We're going to get the ball out, and we're going to look efficient. I just don't think that the Steelers are a team where they let you beat them if you make too many mistakes. They don't let you beat them.
No.
Because they're not going to beat themselves. So my thing is that if we're efficient and we're moving the ball well, I'm going to be pleasantly surprised. Now I'm just going to be looking at our defensive line to see if we can stop the Steelers in the run game. But really, that's why I have us losing this one because they're a little bit too cool for school. And the Steelers are just balanced. I don't feel like they have to lift a finger. I feel like they're dressed and waiting on us right now. That's what I feel like. Like they're just they're literally, the stadium's already there. Everybody's in the parking lot. They're just waiting for us to show up. So
I'm going to say the star on offense is Brandon Ayuk with an assist from, wait for it, Ronnie Bell. I think Ronnie Bell's going to make some big catches. And the star on defense, I think, is going to be Dre Greenlaw. And I think Greenlaw is going to make, double-digit tackles. I think he's ready for this one. Yeah. Coach, I'm off to Burlingame for a sales meeting, but have a great Saturday. My A&M Aggies going up against the Hurricanes later today. I'll be watching that.
What y'all going to
do? It's A&M on the road -3. I'm going to take the Aggies, giving the 3 to the Hurricanes. I think A&M's got some ridiculous recruits.
Man, you know what? Jimbo has been getting that ridiculous recruit.
Jimbo's got Bobby Petrino now. Jimbo's kicked himself
all
upstairs.
Of this love. Remember last year? Oh, they had the craziest recruiting class and got thumped week after week. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
They beat New Mexico State. Now they get the Hurricanes.
Jimbo, because you know what Jimbo's claim to fame is he's always talking about other coaches, specifically Coach Saban, about paying for money. We didn't pay for no recruits. We didn't pay for nobody. You should ask them how they pay for their recruits. And then you go out there and get your ass whipped week in and week out. I don't understand Jimbo. But, I hope they beat Miami because that's going to be a bad one. You can't lose to the ACC, man.
They've got some amazing defensive players, though. I mean, they're I forget this kid's name, but they've got a recruit on the defensive line. Here it is, Shamar Turner.
Mm.
This guy's incredible. He's 6'4", 290. 6'4", 290, and he's fast. He's fast. He's from DeSoto, Texas. All right, Coach, have a great rest of your Saturday. I'll be looking for your post-game. I'm doing post-game as well with Kev, so we will try not to compete too hard against you guys. But have fun. Go Niners.
Thanks,
we got this one from Ramelia. He says, great stream, Larry. Props, Coach. Keeping it 100. Always looking forward to
my guy, man.
I'll look forward to our Saturday extravaganza next week, and have a great week, man. We'll talk to you next Saturday. Go Niners.
Hey, man. Thanks, Larry.
There you go. The coach checking in. He's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Clown Man says, Krug, Lombardi. This dude's named Coach. SF Niners, a couple more, are legit real fellas that don't mind acting like real men. Thank you, Clown Man. Appreciate that. Appreciate you, Clown Man. And we got this one from For Life Niner, 2120 Niners. Oh, my God, I can't handle that. That's way too close. 21-20 on a Jake Moody extra point is the difference in the ball game. Oh my gosh, I can't handle that. All right. And ADF says Ray to the house. To the house. Yeah, Ray coming back to Pittsburgh. As Cleveland Farrell said, if you're afraid, get a dog. That's a great line. Great line. All right, let's thank our sponsors, Marin Auto Glass. Check them out on the web, marinautoglass.com, 415-883-3030. New York Style Sausage Company. The only sausage that I will eat is New York Style sausage. Underdog Fantasy. Type in the code name Krug. The link is in the description. They'll match your first contribution up to $100. $100. In fact, let's get a word right now from Underdog Fantasy. All right, sorry to interrupt your video, but I want to let you guys know that we've partnered with Underdog Fantasy this football season. Underdog Fantasy gives fans a way to play alongside your favorite football team all season long. You can check out their weekly Pick'em players, where you pick between 2 to 5 players, select whether they'll go higher or lower on their game stats. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. It's a fantasy game, but you can win real money. This week, I'm going with Nico Collins, higher than 3 receptions, and Brandon Ayuk, higher than 3.5 receptions. You can enter the same as me, or of course, you can make your own picks. Sign up using the promo code Krug, K-R-U-E-G, and they'll match you up to $100.
So New York Style Sausage was started over 70 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York Style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never gonna deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it, hands down.
And do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York Style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it, guaranteed.
Coming down the home stretch on the Krueg Show. We pissed off brother Bob says, Kevin's dad, I want a call-in show with Kevin Krueger tonight. We do our call-in shows on Wednesday, but Kev will be here tomorrow night for postgame along with Bay Area Baller. Get this, fellas. I'm bringing back Rye and Danny tomorrow night in the post. So they're going to join us as well. So it'll be me and Kevin, Baller, and Danny and Rye. Should be fun. JD's going to join us later on in the night after he does his 95.7 The Game post-game show on the radio station. I like the Niners 24-17. I'm going to watch some college football, but I'm off to Burlingame for a little sales meeting. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you won't get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, get it.